And
Come on, get in there.
oh, I have something also exciting, but not as topical.
Yours is far more exciting. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it's also leaking on my bed, which I just noticed. So
Ooh.
that's great.
Thankfully, kimchi doesn't smell or stain.
Yeah, neither of those things. So I'm just gonna dig right into this.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is pungent. Okay. Well, uh, we are back again, and today's podcast will be brought to you by cat holes. And desperation-induced IGTVing.
Okay. Um, this week's podcast is also brought to you by Well-Stocked Fridge and Dirtbag Mode.
Hmm. I'm your host, Madison.
I'm your other host, Jesse James. How is that kimchi?
It's pretty good. I haven't had kimchi in a long time, so I was excited. I used the excuse of going to the grocery store to like stock up on things to
Mm-hmm.
get this. So I'm happy.
Crack them open an
Ooh.
old one with the boys. Uh, I I had people over because uh, we're not as locked down as maybe we should be uh, when it comes to everybody in this area. Considering I'm hey, a squirrel. Considering I'm in epicenter Kirkland in Washington, I'm a little annoyed that there's as much like uh, but we just gotta stuff going on. It's not nearly as bad as it was a couple weeks ago, where it was like people knew what the problem was with the COVID issue, but they were just kind of like, let's just stay at the bar until they tell us we can't, kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you just sent me a photo right before we started, and it still looks like there's a fair amount of people out and
Yeah.
about.
So that actually is probably the topic I'll start with then.
Let's go.
So we're starting a little late today, a little later than I even anticipated because I was talking to the titular Pops because he lives on like a beachfront town kind of thing uh, down in like Oregon. So I've been getting updates of what it's like down there, where like it's not as much of an issue yet, or in the same way as it is in Washington,
Hmm.
but it is the same kind of environment as here. It's a little further away from cities, but it's a little more like old people are going to go like vacation there as like a cheap option and stuff like that. Uh, which is also why it is cheap to live there because you have to deal with that shit. Uh, Up until it got sunny out, I was getting reports that like the front street and stuff was pretty much empty because he has to go out and like walk the dog and do something. He kind of lives like it's COVID 24/7 anyway. Uh, so he's often inside like watching TV or like working on various things or cooking or whatever. And um, then just today I got some messages talking about how it's like pretty busy again now that it's sunny, and he had to like take the back streets to avoid it.
Hmm.
And people definitely are not 6 feet away from each other or like doing any of that shit. And I know that they don't have that many cases in Oregon compared to here, or at least not in that part of Oregon. But considering the amount of elderly and stuff like that in that area, that
Yeah.
does not sound good.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, that picture I sent you is in Kirkland, and that basically just illustrates the amount of people who are dumb in this area.
Yeah,
Everything from
no one in this picture is practicing social distancing.
so what I missed in that picture because they showed up a minute after that. Uh, I'm kind of walking on this walkway that goes around that section,
Hmm.
uh, and there was a group of like 7 people with surfboards who were like basically all embracing each other walking down to our very not surfable like beach area here.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
say.
and it just seems like it's a like farcical version of like what we shouldn't do while this is happening that's happening in that area. And it also is frustrating because once you leave that tiny beachfront that's here, which to be fair is a gravel front, it is not a beach front in like a
Yeah.
take your shoes off and have some fun kind of way. Uh, Everything else you can see in those pictures I took, like that's around City Hall. Like it is empty in the rest of Kirkland. But if you go down towards the beach, there's just people rubbing up against each other. So avoid it.
With their
Uh,
children.
yeah. And I don't know. Keep all your old people that, you know, are worth keeping safe for sure. Uh, Also, uh, bring it on dirtbag mode with mm, another fine hot
Ooh.
mimosa.
Oh, it's not, you're not making quarantinis?
No, I don't know what a quarantini is, but I bet it's not good.
Did you see this? Okay. So actually this came up with my family because my brother is turning 21 in like 2 weeks ish. Um, and he will probably still be quarantined by then,
Right. Yeah.
which sucks. So I told him, "Don't worry, I'm gonna make you a quarantini." And a quarantini, this has been circulating the internet, is people have been mixing uh, packets of emergency
Mm-hmm.
with various types of alcohol. Actually, it's very like in your lane. Like this sounds like a Jesse thing
Uh,
to do.
I'm gonna say just up front, I have done that before, and it was not under the guise of doing this because I like how sour those are. Uh,
Yeah. Well, the company had to release a statement saying, "Hey, guys, we don't actually recommend that you drink your high doses of vitamin C with all your alcohol at the same time."
Well, so the reason I did it in college was because I had one of the gifts from my family when I went to college was a large bottle of like very decent Polish vodka, and I would pour shots of that and then mix emergency that I got from my other parents for like a care package in with it as like a cocktail because there was a point in college where I was eating like an apple over the course of a day because I had absolutely nothing in terms of money.
Yeah.
And a what is now a quarantini is pretty good when you actually just want something. Also, if you eat like a couple Ritz crackers with it, it kind of gives you a base for like all of it. It's a good way to go.
So, all you people drinking quarantinis out there, just know for Jesse, that's a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's an old thing. Uh, also, my lip is still bruised, so my hot mimosa is not as hot as it could be, which is just sort of par for the course, I guess.
I guess. What happened to your lip?
It's not worth going into. It was bruised on our last show, but it hadn't changed color yet, and now you can see it a little more.
Oh.
But I think it's almost healed, so that's nice. Having anything wrong with your face where facial hair is the worst.
Mm,
And
yeah.
um, it it kind of convinced me that I'm going to be cultivating a quarantine beard because who the fuck cares? Like I don't have any work to be. Uh, but I don't think that'll work out. Growing a beard never works out for me.
I mean, this is the time to try, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the
Uh,
time to take your chances.
I can't go get a haircut, so I gotta. I may end up with an forced man bun at some point because I can't not like move my hair back if I'm out and like can't touch my face at all. Uh, when I'm home and everything is like taken care of, I can at least like adjust things. But when I'm at work, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Well,
yes,
I am sporting a man bun today.
yeah,
Evan hates it when I call it that.
I feel like you're able to pull it off. I I think as soon as you add facial hair, you start pushing on the like ways that you can deal with like how many accents are on your face. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can have
My
hair accents and makeup accents, but if it's all one or the other, it starts to get unbalanced.
So what you're saying is that if I grew a beard, this would be a problem.
Yeah, because that is the exact look that is a problem for dudes.
uh, have you ever listened to Conchita Wurst?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, this is not related to anything other than what we're talking about right now, but Conchita Wurst, I don't even know if she goes by that anymore. A oh, I want to say Polish, but that's not right. I don't know, but
You
you
said
know
work?
the Eurovision contest?
Yeah.
It's like she was a contestant on there a while ago, but uh she has a beard and like makeup and everything, and I want to
Oh,
send you a photo so that you can see it can work. You just have to be a very special kind of individual to pull it off, and I clearly am not at the
I think
level.
I actually did see pictures of this because it was like 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yes,
Um,
she sang a song called Rise Like a Phoenix. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, that should be your next search. It's very good. I'm looking
um,
for a photo to send you.
yeah, I want to see if this is what I remember because I remember seeing like images of this person. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm. I guess
Uh,
it's not as like full glam makeup as I remember. It's pretty out there though, or not out there, but it's pretty like uh, I can't do words while I'm typing at the same time. Can't do words. Okay, I am sending it to you now.
okay, to the excitement of everybody.
Yes.
Uh,
Hold on to your butts, everyone.
all right, everybody, I got the picture. So the 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 difference here, and for people watching, I'm gonna just hold it up in case they haven't seen. Um,
I guess I could have done that.
the issue here for me is that that is a very like glam Jesus look,
Yes.
and uh, I think that the Jesus hair gets a pass with a beard because it's such
Not a
a.
bun though.
I think as soon, even if you add a bun and it's in addition to like big hair, it starts to get to be something else. That is my own hang up, though. I think that people need to be more uh, intentional and like directed with their like accoutrement. But I also am a big fan of drag, and that's like the opposite. So it can clearly work either way. Uh, there are drag kings that do all kinds of weird shit, and that's good enough. I don't think it's good fashion, but I think it is a proper way to do things if that is your intention.
To like balance it out.
Hmm.
I'm very there are some things that I'm very particular about in a similar way. Like if I'm wearing a patterned top, like
Hmm.
something very colorful or just there's a lot of pattern and design on it, I'll straighten my hair because I don't like having both
Yeah,
curly hair and a patterned top. That's just my own weird neuroses, but no.
yeah, it's kind of how I feel about having large volume hair looks and having clothing that's too big. I think that you can have too big clothing, but you have to pull your hair back or you're like affecting the look of it. Again, it is completely circumstantial. You can have all kinds of versions of that. I feel like you did a sort of a little snack corner. I should get into a little bit of the things I have sitting around.
Yes.
Some of my pellet-based quarantine foods. Have these.
Ooh. Oh, that's good. That's good.
These are vegan Rob's Brussels sprout puff.
Ooh. How are they? Sorghum flavored.
Oh yeah, get that sorghum. They're really good actually. I would say that they taste like a Cheeto that is not as machined. Like it still has that like puffed quality to it, but it feels puffed in a way that isn't like styrofoam, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, talking about Cheeto, like puffed Cheetos, not crunchy.
Right.
Crunchy ones seem like they were just cooked longer or something. And then for full dirtbag effect, I do also have this carton of Robin's eggs.
Ooh.
I'm not even that big of a Whopper fan, but it just seems right.
Mm-hmm.
They're also like so devastatingly sweet that they kind of eliminate my need for things that are sugary afterwards. Really gonna be a chore having this and this blueberry Red Bull together, but
oh yeah.
I guess that's what we're doing. A quick aside to a dream corner.
Ooh.
In reference to Bouncer's Guilt from last week. So I've been having nightmares the last 2 nights, like lots of them. Like I'm waking up and going back to sleep and getting some more in there. And
oh, nice.
They are all lately me doing something with somebody that I don't really want to do, but it's just an inconvenience. And then when I say, well, I don't know if I really want to do this, them saying, yeah, but you're taking a week off of work. That is like, I have never had recurring nightmares this close together. And they're not like, they're not scary nightmares. I'm just using that because it's like, there's a bad feeling to them as opposed to a good feeling to them. The last one I had was my roommate and I were at some fucking like retreat space, and they were setting up chairs, and like my boss from work was there, and it was almost like I came to in the middle of this and was like, "Where are we?" He was like, "Well, it's a business talk." It's like, I don't want to be here. It was like, yeah, but you're taking a week off of work next week. It's fucking stupid.
That is a bad dream.
And for reference, I've worked where I work and where you worked for a while too, for just about 5 years or something, maybe 6. God, I hope it's 5. And I've never taken any paid time in that whole time. Like I've never had a day off or hours off and then filled those in with anything. And the state mandated time that we get is finally a thing as of a few months ago. So that is the only reason why I'm doing this, is because a big chunk of those hours don't roll over. And originally this was going to be a trip, and then it turned into a parent trip, and now it's like I'm going to be doing like some video calls with my parents, I hope. But like it kind of got completely waylaid by this thing. But I'm still, now I just have on my calendar written like staycation over this week. And then we also all have to like drop days out of work. So like I also don't work the following Monday. So I have like a weird like big blotch out of this month that starts today that I don't work. And apparently I feel very guilty about that, which is annoying.
Yeah.
But
well,
hey, you know.
What
about you? What are you guilty about?
Oh, I don't think we have time for that in a podcast. Recently, um, I'm. I
I
don't
mean, you
think I
don't
have.
have to answer that.
Well, I'm trying to think of a good way to segue this into one of my things to talk about.
Mm.
uh,
Uh,
um,
hey, you know what I did last night?
well, speaking of cats assholes, uh,
So last
um,
night I did watch Cats with people.
I saw that. How did that go?
Bad. I mean,
Yeah,
good, but bad.
bad.
Hmm.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, we did do a whole podcast on that, so I won't go into
You
that,
should go
but
into detail if you want. On rewatching it, holy shit.
I did not realize how much of the movie I had like purposefully blocked out of my brain.
Yeah, me too. I saw it in the
Um,
theater and I still blocked out a bunch. It was. Ugh.
Jesse sent me a clip of the James Corden cat. I don't even remember his name. Getting milk, I think it was, like dumped into his
I think
mouth.
it's wine or water. I don't know.
Something. I guess I have it here. I'm not gonna watch it again.
Oh, I could
Uh,
just play the audio.
oh, okay, do that.
Uh, this is some
It's short
audio.
enough that we won't get in trouble on YouTube, I'm
Well,
sure.
it also, you don't hear the cats nearly as much as you hear the other stuff.
Ugh.
You see. You can hear James Corden kind of half singing in the background, but
But also choking on
uh-huh.
alcohol, milk, whatever.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, I had forgotten about that and how everything that is secondary to the main things they're showing in that movie look like PlayStation 2 graphics, including the water they're pouring into James Corden's mouth. Uh,
Mhm.
you should zoom in on it, watch the video up close. Uh, it is a triangle shaped water object with a texture on it, and it is just stagnant, and then it stops, and they like cut the image and then bring it back up and then cut it again. It is terrible. Whoever did like the last minute stuff on that, they were not given enough time or they were not paid properly or something.
Well, I'm speaking of the graphics of
Uh-huh.
cats. Did learn something very exciting this week. I have the tweet. Somebody tweeted, uh, a, a video effects producer friend of a friend was hired in November to finish some of the 400 effects shots in Cats. His entire job was to remove CGI buttholes that had been inserted a few months before, which means that somewhere out there is, in fact, a butthole cut of Cats.
God, I want that cut.
Uh,
That's the only version
we
of
need
Cats I
it.
want.
There
Uh,
shouldn't be any other version of Cats other than the
I
butthole version of Cats.
and I don't care the level of truth on this. In my world, this is 100% true, no matter what.
So I followed it. I kept following it, and the guy kind of clarified. I think his friend actually hopped on Twitter to make a statement because
Uh huh.
the hashtag release the butthole cut was trending. So it was important. He hopped on. He was like, they weren't actual buttholes. It was just like the fur had been animated and like brushed in such a weird way that it gave. I should find this tweet too, but he's like, it gave very graphic uh outlines and shading to like to genitals basically. So
That
that was his
should
job.
have been in
It should
the
have.
movie.
I feel like it would have gone along very well with the, like, I would not have blinked. I would have been like, yeah, that's it. That's the movie.
I went into last night rewatching that movie with people who hadn't seen it before. I will say, not in the theater version of that movie is like half the torture that you get in the theater. Uh, it seemed in the theater like I was there for 4 hours. When I saw it the second time, granted that always happens, it seemed like a regular length movie, uh, but it was still fun to pause it, like when they get to the Jellicle lair or whatever, and just show people that we're like not halfway through yet, because it's such a good spicy way to like introduce them to the terrors that they're in for. Um, Even on a small screen, that mucus that flies out of the cats is rough.
No.
Yeah, ugh. I sent you a picture of that beret cat. I didn't really pay attention to that cat when I saw it in the theater.
Here,
I sent you a picture. Uh, the the one that's the last picture I sent you. So that cat that looks like Rachel Dratch in a beret.
Yeah.
That cat is actually all over the place. Like seeing it a second time and not giving a shit about the like songs or any of that, and just seeing like what they put where. That cat is a named cat and does have a reason to be there, but it's very like weird decisions on how they did it. Also very obvious. Their version of Grisabella looks like they peppered like cocaine dust on it. Like they gave her like weird ashy qualities that I find really distasteful for that character.
I think I remember someone else saying that too.
Yeah.
Having
Also, so there is one, as far as I can tell, completely unnamed cat that is played by somebody of Asian descent. One of those cats in the whole thing. And she like kind of has a weird like tiger stripy look to her. We were watching last night and started noticing that that cat was just in places, and they would change the scene and come back and it would be replacing other cats at times. Uh, it was as though it was added into the whole movie for like a weird representational thing. And I don't think that's true. I don't think they cut in an Asian cat just so it was there. That seems weird to me, but it's very prominent. It has one line that you can half hear during one of the songs, and it's only because it's on screens, like mouthing the words, that you even get that feeling. But we look through the cast and the like named like character actors and all that stuff that are like in that version of it, and she's not one of them.
really?
But she's so prominent. Like the cat with the beret, that cat has a name. It's like it's a bad name, but that cat has a name and an actress listed in like the little set of featured players in the ending. That cat also has no lines, even less screen time than the like tiger cat, and it's in like the middle of the cast list. But that cat was just everywhere and doesn't have any like mention. Very weird.
Very suspicious.
If anybody knows the story of that cat, I would love to know why it's there all the time.
Yeah, you can't look it up because the only thing that comes up is like Taylor Swift's character.
Yeah, Bumblerina, the most nothing character. I'm glad to have watched that movie though, with mostly people who do not give a shit about Taylor Swift, because it really stands out as a nothing scene in that movie.
Did I forward you the like behind the scenes clip that I was watching where she and Andrew Lloyd Webber were like talking in a room and about how brilliant she was and how her the lyrics she wrote for this movie were just like so dead on, and she's just like a freaking genius of writing.
No, but also gross.
Yep.
I know
Yep.
that Taylor Swift has fans out there, quite a few of them, but like I'm not a pop music person, so like I may be missing whatever part of my brain it is that is needed for pop music. I cannot stand Taylor Swift. To be fair, I also don't really enjoy Adele or any of the people who are more like I can see the artistry in some of that work. In the Taylor Swift stuff, it looks like somebody who is confident enough to be in a lot of sort of aggressive music videos, and that's about it. And that's sort of how most pop music feels. Uh,
Yeah. I I do like pop music. Probably, I mean, I'm not super into it, but I do like pop music. Not a, a huge fan of Taylor Swift anymore. I liked her first album. The
I've heard
country,
that from people. Yeah.
she needs to do that again and stop this reputation, whatever is happening. I just watched her documentary a while. I could talk about that for a while too, but yeah, I really think the country is like her sweet spot, but I understand the need to like grow as a person or whatever. But
Yeah. I actually, my pop music, it's not really a recent example, but maybe the most like into pop music I've been is uh, back when The Weeknd was like still rising in popularity before it became pop music, when he was still an R&B producer from Toronto. Uh, the like trilogy like collection and his first like album and a half I think are fantastic, and I really appreciate that there is there is a artistry to like weaving a storyline between all of his work in that chunk of time that I don't see in a lot of like music creators, where he didn't create like a rap persona or something like that. He created like a character for his like music that was sort of like this weird like Toronto dark side character that was like a serial killer basically, and
oh
then
yeah.
did all of his work from that perspective. And then around his like second like full studio album, it was disappointing because I think it was um, the Hills had like some major references to his character from like what he was doing, kind of like being like that was the death of that character basically. And then in the next album after, it was like I think he probably got a lot of criticism for kind of selling out and doing like songs about how, hey, you know, cocaine and stuff like that, which just isn't interesting. Like uh, in the next album, I think he had a piece that was about like uh, bringing that character back, basically, but it none of the music came back with it. It was just this like completely limp like this song is really good and you used a bunch of like your old synth sounds and stuff to emphasize the point that you're bringing your old stuff back, and then it never happened. And
Is that
that yeah,
Starboy? That sounds like what Starboy might have been.
yeah, probably. I honestly I just stopped caring when it got to that point, and I like listened to that and some of the other tracks, and it was just like, okay, sure.
I haven't listened to his full new album, but I really like the single Blinding Lights off of it because it's very like
Okay.
80s fun sounding. It sounds like it should be on like a Stranger Things soundtrack. And
Okay.
I am probably making that parallel just because Stranger Things is like the most 80s prevalent thing in my brain. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Stranger Things definitely brought back that aesthetic for a lot of people, I think. Uh,
Mhm.
I I can respect people evolving into something else when it comes to their work, but I think people who feel like they have to still like it just because they like the old stuff, and that other people who liked it do also, need to pay attention to something else, because who cares? Like, you should like whatever.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's the whole point, is
Mhm.
having, yeah, being able to like what you like. You're not being beholden to liking a person's entire discography. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
my defensiveness is partially coming from the whole atmosphere of like everything for the last few months in politics and stuff. So I am aware that I sound very defensive about everything. It'll pass eventually. But I do get a lot of people criticizing like musical tastes and stuff on occasion. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I I get very like Twitter brain when it comes to talking about music, just in very defensive. I feel like, because yeah, I think people are take their music tastes way too seriously.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yes.
that's our thoughts on that.
I
uh,
am curious, actually. Do you have any music you listen to that you think uh, people would disapprove of somehow?
I'm sure there are things that I listen to that are like dumb guilty pleasures, but I don't think they're that like out of the norm. I the probably the weirdest music thing, and this isn't even that weird. It's just I really like Russian pop a lot.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember that.
uh, that was born out of an obsession with a boy in junior high, who I tried to learn Russian for.
Nice.
And clearly it worked because I'm super fluent now. um, but no, I do really like the sound of it. I don't think it's very I I don't know that I would say it's specifically different than like American pop.
Hmm.
I just it's very like campy and cheesy at times, which I really enjoy. I think my favorite artist is Dima Bilan. He's like uh what would his American equivalent be? I don't know. Um he won Eurovision like a really long time ago.
Okay.
And that's kind of where he got his start, and he's just kind of like a broy man pop singer. he's Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him other than I like the
Is
music
is he
and
the
he's
Adam
attractive.
Levine of Russia?
I think that might be a good comparison, except
Okay.
he's definitely I not any. I don't know. Is Adam Levine qualify as rock? Like, is
Uh,
Maroon 5? What would you call that?
Man, I don't know what I'd call Maroon 5.
They have their own genre, and it's just Maroon 5.
Yeah, it's honestly, I would call Maroon 5 easy listening. I think that's probably where I'd put them.
Easy to remember words. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Maroon 5 has the like musical qualities of a like They Might Be Giants, but without the talent and without the like attention to lyrics. They if you took all
Yeah.
the things that were good about They Might Be Giants and just left a weird musical shell, and then had like a man with a bunch of tattoos and greaser hair stand in front of you. That's kind of what I think Maroon
Mm,
5 is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's yeah. I'd say Adam Levine would be a pretty good comparison. Um, uh, Other than that, I grew up con- conservative Christian household, so I didn't listen to not Christian music
Uh-huh.
until I was probably like 13 or 14. Um, so I liked Owl City a lot.
Owl City's not bad.
I just got into listening to him again, and
Yeah.
I'm like, this is good. I like it. I'm not
Owl
mad
City is
at it.
good sketching music if you
Yeah.
need like something to go along with what you're working on.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. It's like I know all the words now, so it's something I can just absentmindedly kind of put on and not think about the fact that I'm saying that like bears are dancing in a circle or something.
I tune out all the words when it comes to that style of music usually, unless I'm really
Yeah.
into it. So it's perfect for doing stuff because I just don't even recognize it. I got really into uh, Iranian music for a long time.
Ooh.
Uh, when they started like fucking with the Middle East again after 9/11, uh, I started going out of my way to like figure out more about the culture in that area because I felt extremely conflicted about like being aggressive towards a country for seemingly no reason.
Hmm.
And I got really into uh, music, and I still, if people go to my follows, or can you go to people's follows still on Instagram? I forget
I
how
think
they
so.
handle that.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of like Iranian art galleries and stuff. Um,
Oh yeah.
they uh, they have a lot of culture in that area, and a lot of it's infinitely older than any of the stuff we have, and way more interesting in like its history. So it is worth looking into, especially on the constant threat, at least more so there than most places, of it not existing in the future. So uh, it's worth checking it out. That was also when I was a kid. I got into uh, Korean music for a while because most of the stuff I had learned about was like the Korean like war shit,
Mm.
uh, which was basically just us showing up and shooting a whole bunch of people and then leaving. And that country's still fucked from that, but also they had a lot of really interesting culture there too. And that's pretty much evaporated at this point because they've been in survival mode for so long. Uh, Hopefully their music comes back. It actually was it was kind of like some popular like Chinese folk music style stuff, but it was grungy as hell. Like
Mm.
it had a lot of like hard percussive elements and stuff that I really appreciated. Uh, all of that stuff, I feel like it is hard to listen to around people without people being like, "Why are you listening to this?" Same with like how at work I listen to nature sounds. That's not music necessarily, but that is a thing that I feel like can be polarizing to talk about in terms of soundscapes.
I think I think that everybody that I can remember in that situation either was extremely into it and thought it was really cool or did not like it at
Right.
all.
Um, oh, it's just my COVID update.
Oh yeah? Is
Uh-huh.
it still happening?
Yeah, there's a new in the Seattle area. There's a new COVID-19 recovery site for vulnerable populations. There you go. There's your update. I know they were bringing in like uh, some military medical teams to like help out. So I think that's them getting here.
Mm.
Oh. Uh, it's worth noting we have a lot of cases of COVID in this area compared to a lot of places still, but uh, despite people being idiots, I think that the majority of people are at least paying attention to stuff. Uh, so I think that's good. I would like to see nobody out unless they're like walking a dog or like going to the grocery store. But hey, you know. Yesterday, I did see an old man in like I think he had self-made like protective gear out of like multiple coats, basically, because it was not cold. and he was like leaning back and talking to another like elderly couple that were like on a balcony 40 feet up
I like
outside.
that.
I wanted to take a picture, but then it was like only 2 houses away from mine, and I felt weird about it.
What I
Uh,
really
it was
want is
funny.
to stumble upon two people like suspending the like a phone or a cup telephone
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yeah, just getting some good like old tech going.
Yeah, some walkie-talkies. That's what we need.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, I want to look into it. I might look into it for our 20th episode. By the way, next week's our 20th episode.
Wow,
Uh,
we've come so far, so fast,
so far.
so far.
Uh, I was reading about the what 1918, I think it was the H1N1 outbreak,
Oh,
and how many people that killed at that time in the U.S. and like worldwide and stuff. That was way worse. So you can take some solace in that we do have a lot of advantages now. Uh, but that thing I sent you, that CDC thing, that is maybe the most frustrating. Like, thanks, conservative assholes.
No, what about that was frustrating?
Uh, what was their exact wording?
They put together some dumb graphic like badge or something to go at the top of the article that says I have it. Oh, here. 1918 flu pandemic. 100 years. We remember. We prepare. Do you
Fuck
though?
off.
It kind of seemed like you didn't.
Yeah, it kind of seems like maybe a year and a half before this happened, you wouldn't be out there like, look how big our dick is. um, to be fair, that was 2 years after they started defunding this shit, because a lot of our like funding for medical stuff, if you look at that list of all the shit that this administration's done, started right away in 2016. So
Yeah.
like they fucking knew that they didn't have the funding for all this shit if it happened.
Yeah. So small tangent. Did you see? And I actually we might have talked about this last week, and I'm just not remembering. But
I'm really
did you
angry
see?
that Colin was. Anyway, go for it.
Gonna angry chow on some kimchi here in a minute. But did you see any of the public addresses that Trump gave? Addresses. There, what do you call them? Press briefing, whatever those
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
Um, so there were a couple of moments that stood out to me. In the first one, I think the one where he declared a national emergency, two very big words.
Were they moments
Um,
of civility? I feel like there's a lot of civility now with
uh-huh.
uh, our
Yeah.
current people.
Yes, they're very shining examples of what civility and just generally being a normal
Cool,
human being
being
is.
cool and reasonable.
Yeah. So one reporter asked him, what did she? I don't remember exactly what the question was, but she basically kind of called them out and it was like, "Hey, so your administration did cut like the pandemic response team or whatever it is under the CDC in 2018, which would be a really handy thing to have right about now. So like, what do you have to say about that?" And he was like, "I don't know anything about that. I never heard of it. What's that?
Yeah,
Never heard of it."
our representation is fucking terrible.
And she specifically asked them like, do you take any sort of responsibility for that? And he's like, of course not. And you're like, of course not. So nothing is, it's all the same. But that moment stood out to me. He also recently just did another one. I don't remember what the point of that one was, but he was doing a question and answer thing with reporters, and the reporter, he just said, all he said was, people are scared. Do you have any words of comfort to offer the scared people of America, of the country that you are the president of? Like, do you have anything to say
Uh-huh.
about that? And he goes, what a nasty question. I think that's a nasty question, and I think you're a horrible reporter, and you should lose your job. Like, the dude can't even, it was as stark a contrast to the other question as you could get. He wasn't asking him to take responsibility for anything. He wasn't asking him to, like, do something hard. He was just like, hey, if anything, this was like a freebie for Trump to
Yeah.
be like, hey, you want to maybe show a little bit of leadership and, like, decorum, something, give us something maybe. And Trump was like, nope, absolutely not. Fuck you. Fuck this. I'm going home.
Yeah,
Gotta go drink more Diet Coke.
that's a free pass to be like, this is the greatest country in the world and we're the greatest response in the world. We're gonna make it so good. Like, he could have done his stupid shit right there and it would have been appropriately timed at least.
Yeah, but his, like, cocaine, I'm assuming, ridden brain is like, can't even, I don't know.
He
Anyway,
doesn't really, from everything that I've heard that is reliable at least, he doesn't drink hardly at all, and he probably doesn't use anything else. He's just a dumb piece of shit. Uh,
very
which
possible.
which makes sense. Like, being rich does sort of cause that in people, like
Yeah.
becoming that kind of person. So I think if he were drinking, he would be more like a I don't know. I think Joe Biden has had to put some uppers in his system for some of his stuff lately, just based on how wildly his like personality swings. But who
Am I gonna
knows?
am I gonna get canceled for saying that Joe Biden should do cocaine?
Joe Biden should do an 8 ball and just see how it treats him, because
That's
I don't
just
think he could hold up.
uh yeah. So that's my own personal conspiracy theory. I saw a really, really long time ago some guy did, like, this deep dive on, we had this picture of Trump's office out, and in the drawer was, like, a bunch of some type of medicine that you can only get in the UK that
Uh-huh.
has some, I don't know, and he had a bunch of it. Uh, and then one other doctor a while ago published this article about how Trump's pupils are always, like, huge and dilated,
Huh.
which is either, like, maybe he's on drugs, or, like, he has a serious problem, or maybe he's just, like, constantly internally panicking because he's a terrible garbage bag person.
I mean, he comes from the perfect position where he could very easily be doing something like Adderall. Like,
Oh
that
yeah,
that's
that makes
not
sense.
out of the question, because plenty of people look at that stuff and think, "Oh yeah, that's just an extra boost," even though it is for a specific reason. Like, my roommate takes like a Adderall like thing, and if he doesn't, he freaks out. Well, he doesn't freak out. He can't stay on any topic,
Yeah.
and like, maybe leave it to people who need it like that, as opposed to people who just want to be, uh, let's say, very effective, like the president. But yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all if that's what he's doing, because that is a upper that is also sort of okayed by society.
Also, Diet Coke. Does that
Also, Diet
qualify as
Coke.
an upper?
I don't know. I think every business leader in the U.S. drinks a gallon of Diet Coke a day, so probably.
uh, anyway, that's my Donald Trump conspiracy slash rant corner for today.
Very lightweight rant. I think that works okay. Uh, I'll save my yelling about centrism for another day when it's more of a all at once kind of thing, because I feel like that'll be more effective than just constantly talking about it. Um,
Sure.
there's a lot of stuff to rant about there, so I don't know, I'll write some kind of big long garbage at some point. Uh, so completely unrelated to politics, I think. Uh, I
We'll get it there. Don't
yeah,
worry.
actually, I do want to mention. So it's incredibly nice out in like the West Coast slash Rockies and stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, it looks like it's probably pretty nice out over there as well, based on your lighting scheme. Uh,
Yeah.
over to the side of me, see if I can get, yeah, there is
Oh.
just like it is picturesque. I live behind trees on like a little apartment kind of area, and we just happen to be lucky enough to have like the part of the porch in area that has trees around it. The rest of it's just bare, and it looks like we live in the middle of a forest when it gets sunny like this because we get like dappling on everything. It's pretty
Mm.
nice. Uh, and because people are, for the most part, up until yesterday, gone. Uh, I was outside yesterday. I went and we have like coffee shops around here, and it's like one or two people working them. All the doors are blocked open, so nobody has to touch anything, and then all of the seating is disabled. So it's like walking into this weird empty room with like a desk at the front.
Mhm.
But also, I love all of the latex gloves that people have lately are those like jet black ones that are just like, okay, sure. uh, and you go in and you can order stuff like usual and like get coffee, and then you just have to like go immediately. Like it's a like safety measure. Like you can't stand in front of the register after you've ordered. You can't stay there once you've gotten your order. And um, I went and did that. I haven't gotten coffee since like the COVID thing started, just because like that's not really. It doesn't seem worth it to like go out and do that.
Yeah.
But I did, and then I decided I would walk back like around the little waterfront area, and that's where I took those pictures. But it is incredibly empty everywhere else, and there's like squirrels, bees, every type of bug. Everything is like
It's out.
picturesque everywhere. I walked past City Hall, and there was just like there were bees all over in a way that hasn't been in a while, and then there was also like ladybugs all over, which I don't know, like you see them, but you don't see a ton of them, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh, those ducks, I'm sure, are used to having people throw more food at them, but they were like very friendly, very like all over the place. Just a very strange version of like what life could be like if people weren't such dicks all the time.
I saw a bunch of your pictures that you posted, and they made me very just happy, very
Oh.
springy. Like I like the ducks and the ladybug on your arm. That's a good one.
My favorite is how there's a lot of places in like Europe and stuff that are so quiet right now that like animals are just walking into town. Uh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is very nice. Like I enjoy the animal takeover of 2020.
That is such like a bittersweet thing to see happening because it just reminds you that like it's not ours. It like in I think in Venice. Did you see the pictures of like all the waterways? All
I
the
saw
water's
a,
like clear
I
and
saw a
blue.
little bit.
Yeah, and then they had pictures of like swans who came back and had been gone for years, like weren't there, but people were inside for like 4 days, and the swans were like, "This is ours again." I'm pretty sure, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's so nice that they get to come out, but they're gonna go back once we all come out again, and maybe we should all just stay inside forever because we suck. But
I honestly, the thing that I take from this that I would be totally okay with. Granted, I sent you that thing earlier. You know what my stance is on this shit. Like, as a honestly, the amount that my life is different with this happening is simply in the fact that I am constantly having to field other people's concerns or caring about like if my parents are being safe.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like I don't want to touch people outside. I don't want to get close to people. I want to work when I'm not at work on my stuff, which is all at home. Like if I had an enclosed porch area that had like literally a completely surrounding instead of just like partially covered by trees area, that would be outside for me most of the time. Like I could go out there and work and be happy with that. I I feel like there are lots of people who have to be somewhere, and I get that, but the cutting down to like what's necessary and making people almost live more responsibly in a lot of ways, where it's not like let's just go do this because we're doing it, uh, just is better for everything. And my
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing is I have like a let's call it deeply hippie streak when it comes to cars. And I've mentioned it before, I'm sure. I think cars are a thing that you should use as a tool when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have the extreme version of licensing cars and guns where it's like I think they should all be licensed, but I also think they should only be allowed to be used when you need them or when you're like doing something with a purpose, period. Uh,
Yeah.
and seeing so many fewer cars, but still like plenty of cars out, it is just better. Like everything about it is better. There's like one car passing my place like every like 5 to 10 minutes instead of just constant. And I don't live on a main street. I live off of a like sort of used main street, but like every like the air is cleaner noticeably outside,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still hazy in the distance, but you get like that feeling of being like somewhere that is like a nature preserve almost, and it's only been a week of really tightening down on anything.
Yeah. It um kind of does, like when I think about it like that, it kind of does feel like uh the earth, this is kind of hippie streak-esque too, but
Yeah.
I think the earth is like correcting itself, or it's kind of, I mean, it's done this has happened for
Yeah.
forever. There's like pandemics and the population dies off and then it comes back and things get worse and then something else happens, and I it's just a cycle. So
Well, let me do some national treasure level garbage math, because I think this lines up, but I honestly don't know for sure. Um, Also, I at the risk of it turning into fucking Fern Gully or something. Uh, yeah, the 1918 pandemic preceded. It looks like it preceded by like a decade, basically. The Dust Bowl,
mm,
which uh, was essentially the U.S. Like being incredibly irresponsible and ignoring like environmental impact and stuff like that, and then all of our like farmers and stuff got fucked for it. And both of those things are things people don't really talk about that much anymore, at least because nobody had to live through them that's still around.
mm,
But like the chances of something, I'm not saying the Dust Bowl. I think that like there's a lot of things that change between then and now, just in general. But uh, I think that people forget very quickly that we have a huge impact on everything around us, not just we exist in it. Uh, I think especially with like tech companies around like Seattle and stuff, you see a lot of people like, what? It's fine for the environment. We work at Amazon, but then we take the weekend off and we go hiking because that's what environmentalism, I guess, is. Um, Completely ignoring the fact that in the last decade, our hiking trails, even within like an hour or two of the city, are completely packed with people. And before, they were like pretty free of garbage, and you would run into like 6 people if you went out there on like a regular day. And now it's literally like you could wait in a line if you were like having people like walk front to back. Like it's just it's like going to like national sites or something. Like it's stupid. Like that shouldn't be how hiking trails are. They're there so that you can get out of like the public and get into like sort of a relaxing place. Like that's sort of the attraction of that stuff. And now it's turned into like, no, you're just outside. Like, and the amount of garbage and stuff that has been brought in by people in that way is terrible. Uh, a lot of the stuff around Washington is just sort of like, I don't ascribe to that whole like, well, we just have to hire more people to keep it clean. Like that's not really a solution. That's just sort of a like weird capitalist response to having that be the way it is. Like we just need to educate people better about our impact, because right now it feels like our education is, oh, it's you don't impact anything. It's just propaganda that people have an impact on stuff. We should keep fracking, says Joe Biden. By the way,
our favorite.
Yeah. To be fair, in the 15th debates, after being asked if he was like okay with fracking because he was okay with fracking and supported it in the past, after the 4th time that he was asked about it, he said, well, no more fracking then. So, he means it. Just like he means that his presidency will cure cancer, which he said.
And his vice president will be a black woman, which he also has like promised or something.
I think all of these promises are definitely going to happen. Except his medical promise of let's make insurance more powerful. I think that will happen. But
and his other promise, like, don't worry, guys, nothing will change for you.
Yeah. Also, no offense to any Elizabeth Warren supporters, but so she had backpedaled a little bit in like the like end of the year stuff when she started moving like we should do Medicare for all to we should like try to get it in like in the latter part of her presidency as like a plan. And I know a lot of people took that as like, well, she's just a better planner, which fine, whatever. It might have taken that long, but you don't start by saying it'll take longer than expected. She then said not long ago, post like being out of the presidential race, that it's just too expensive. Like, so if people are unconcerned about the idea of reaching across and shaking the hand of the other side to like get things done, that's what getting things done looks like. It's compromising and then canceling the things that actually help people. The only reason why we know that is because it's happened for like 60 years. So like stop having conversations with people younger than you about how they're just too dumb to know. Like you can look it up. It's not hard. Anyway, that's my rant for today. That's where I'll stop with it. I guess. That shit's stupid.
Oh, can I do a mini rant about Bloomberg?
Yeah, sure. Wait.
Okay.
Hold on. Now you can.
Oh, okay, good. We need the visual aid. Okay, so Bloomberg had originally a plan organized where he was going to keep employing his people to work for whoever the nominee was.
Yes, I did say that.
Yeah, and nice to have you on the pod, Mr. Bloomberg.
Oh, sorry. This is
I don't.
probably a better one.
Oh, I don't. Okay, so this is when your webcam chooses to be good.
Oh, good. Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
very close.
So yeah, he said he was going to keep employing his people to work for whoever the nominee ended up being. He has since retracted that plan and is just giving the DNC like I think it was $18 million or something like that.
Yeah.
It's probably more complicated than that, but
Is it?
no, it's not. It's not though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just stop. I just stop thinking that billionaires care about you ever. I don't understand why that's a thing that has to be said, but like don't try. I I don't know how to like clarify or make it more clear than just their own behavior.
Yeah.
Billionaires
I
don't care about you.
I worked at Whole Foods for a while years ago. The owner, John Mackey, that guy had a lot of like really good for people stuff set up. Like a lot of like we spend a lot of money here, but we also give the majority of the excess to our workers directly. That was a big part of how we got like decent wages was our wages applied to like state like requirements. But as
Mm-hmm.
long as things went well, we got a big chunk of money like every season, which is great. But uh, when you're working there and that's happening, you feel pretty good about that. And as soon as you realize how much money they make, and then you see like last week when he put out that thing now that they're part of Amazon, and I thought Amazon had bought it from him, but they bought it with him. I guess he's still like the commanding entity of Whole Foods, uh, and they had that thing where he was telling people, "Hey, just if people get sick, we should pool our hours together and give it to them
Oh
from other
God.
employees," which is like that's not how shit works. Like you rich fucks, like you can't just depend on the people who are healthier to give up their shit so that people who are unhealthy have it. That's not like that's how capitalism destroys people's idea of socialism is people think it's that,
Mm.
but it's not.
I
What
mean,
the
you
fuck?
can't depend on people to take care of other people. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I so much of the capitalist culture is built off of the assumption that like churches and nonprofits and like these kind of nice altruistic organizations are going to take care of people, and there are some that do, but there it's not enough. So
Yeah. I always appreciate like we have local churches here especially that are very like uh because a lot of the people who go to them are from like the gay neighborhood and stuff. They are very pro gay, very like everything is based on having a modern and thoughtful version of like Christianity. I'm fine with it. Like
mhm.
there's nothing wrong with having churches. What turns into a problem is when you start turning towards things like that. What was that Christian health thing where they were like ministry health centers? I think like all of that kind of stuff just needs to be.
Mm.
It needs to be standardized throughout everybody. Like we need to have it available. We can't just offer people weird like extra insurance through Jesus. Like that's not a thing. Um, anyway,
Yeah. And people
pigs are
should be
weird.
taken care of whether or not they believe in Jesus or whatever it is.
Well,
So
and based on a conversation which, for whatever reason, came post Cats last night, uh, the uh, the easiest way to distill down the idea of like rich charity in a capitalistic society versus socialism is you can see it as rich people pay money out and poor people benefit, and that's fine, but most of the people that I know who actually put things in towards people are like not really rich. They just have some money. It's like how you donate to things like a campaign you believe in because you want it to have funding, but you don't have much money. So you
Yeah.
put in tiny bits and it builds up to something. And if you took that person who had a ton of money and you said, well, now based on the money you have, we're just going to take a percentage and we're going to take a percentage from everybody. And if people don't have anything, then they don't get anything. And that's fine because the system is built to then take that full set of money and spread it out to make sure everybody's okay. You take the idea of somebody saying, well, I'm going to pay, let's say, a quarter of their income into taking care of other people. Think of how much better that can work if everybody gives a little portion of their income and then it supports everybody. Like it's just better. And I think people's fear of moving on to like something better is the main thing that affects that. And people being selfish, like the whole cars and guns thing. But you know, that that probably won't change that much in our lifetime, but I can guarantee it won't change very much in our parents' lifetime. So it's kind of up to us to like try and make sure that it has the ability to change once we're the only ones left.
Right. I honestly think that as shitty as the situation is right now with COVID, like this could be a thing that like wakes people up to that reality that that needs to happen. So I hope that something good like that comes out of it.
Well, we need more environmental care with like what it's last I heard, don't quote me on this, but I heard it from people who know what they're talking about. The ability of Japan to like house their nuclear runoff that they're having to deal with constantly since their problems. That has like 2 years left, and then it just has to go in the water. Same with like a lot of environmental problems where it's like, yeah, we do have things to help, but if we don't actually put something in place where everybody is working towards it and putting money into it, it's never going to happen. Yeah. And it's only going to get more expensive. Like it's that whole thing of I could put money towards this thing that I had to borrow against for my own health, but I'm just not going to do it. And I'm going to spend this money on chips. And then eventually I will have to owe this money and I'll be destitute and live on the street. But until then, I'm going to live real good, i.e. chips, which fuck that. But anyway, the whole idea of like we don't need to rearrange how we spend things and we don't need to rearrange how our politics work in order to do it is crazy because it is life and death. It's just not a gun pointed at you. It's like somebody with a gun over there. And they're like, I'll be there soon. Like, I mean, you might want to do something about it, but you don't have to, I guess.
Yeah. I kind of in that vein, I have been talking or texting my dad about the Green New Deal, and he has some thoughts. He doesn't think it's he's not for it. But
when has a New Deal benefited anybody, right?
Yeah. But one point that I just kept coming back to with him is like you can we can argue about the Green New Deal, whether or not it's good for like companies, America, economy, whatever. But I kept coming back to the point with him that nobody else has a plan, period, that treats the situation with the gravity that it deserves. Like, I'm totally happy to talk about whatever plan you have, but like nobody else has a plan that says, hey, the planet's dying and like we're all gonna die and we need to like fix this in the next 10 years. And like allows or recognizes the economic pain and hardship that's going to come from that. But like, there's not. I don't understand people who are willing to shit on the Green New Deal all day long, but you like there's nothing else. So unless somebody else comes up with a plan like that, that should be it. Because
Yeah.
we need a thing. We need something to happen.
Yeah, we don't
And
need some old establishment fuck going, "Oh, we won't frack then." It's not going to help.
yeah, no, yeah. It's like it's uh crunch time. You got to do it.
Well,
It's not about
yeah. And I know that a lot of people who already don't care and are going to be in like their late 80s when we get to the point where it's like you're actually going to have dire consequences and you're having to watch your kids die.
yeah.
I mean, it'll get to that point and it's probably worth just like putting a tiny bit of effort into not having it get to that point. It is worth caring about. And like I've said on many things at this point, every generation, for the most part, likes to say the kids don't know what they're talking about. Granted, the kids are like around 40 at this point. Maybe just listen to them for a second. But whatever, you know. There's a lot of but whatever. Hopefully, at some point, that doesn't have to be that. We can swing a little bit. I know that my friend has been getting involved with the Seattle socialist groups, and apparently they have a decent network across the country, and that stuff is picking up more and more. So, you know, pretty regular thing for me to mention, but I think it's important that people remember that not only is Sanders not socialism as a whole, but socialist ideas go a lot further left than Bernie Sanders. And if I guess as a message for people who think that it's all a terrible idea, it's going to be way more socialist or it's going to be nothing later. And hearing people talk about like finding ways to withhold votes from both parties, stuff like that actually poses a real threat to people in the future. I don't even know if it would work. I just know that it would probably destabilize a lot of stuff in our country, and it's gonna happen at some point. So you can get on the right side of things and like support your children, or you can stay on the wrong side of things and I guess not have any relatives. Yeah, just keep in mind, we can't put you in a retirement home. We can't afford that. So like, if you want things to be okay, you should probably think about if you want to be a homeless old person or not, because it's coming. And it is really a bummer.
Yeah.
They'll be really into family values again, though, when it comes to being like 80 and realizing that they don't have the money to go anywhere and we can't afford it. So they have to either like live in our living room or live outside. That's going to be really shitty.
Yeah.
Yep.
But at least they will have been right.
Yeah. Well, and at least it'll be even shittier for us in the future.
Yeah.
So that's what's important.
That's what we really care about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. I think we do need we need like a side pod called But Whatever that's just this.
Yeah. That'll be one of our extra projects that we start doing is our But Whatever. So get in there. Get some more of that kimchi on your blankets. Who cares? We're all gonna be dead anyway. So I because I can't like use any money for anything anymore, which honestly is kind of amazing. I have never had less stress about what I'm going to eat later than I have the last couple weeks.
Oh, really?
My roommate and I went, and for reference, we spent a fair amount of money on groceries. We still split it based on like what we're buying for ourselves, and then my roommate is incredibly nice, so he also takes the brunt of like group food and buys that. But I'm still typically spending like a half to a full double price of what I would spend at the store when I go to, when we've been going since this outbreak. And right now, because of that, we have like a fridge and a freezer where I have to like decide what I'm gonna eat later. And I'm like eating things based on like how long they have before they go bad, which is like maybe the best feeling ever of like, oh man, this looks good, but gotta eat this before it's been a week in the fridge. Like it's it's a huge benefit.
That's a
Living at
good
home
feeling.
largely is actually fantastic. Then you don't have to, pay money on all that stuff that you do that you like.
Yeah.
I I do really miss the art scene. I wish I could go to galleries and stuff, but
mhm.
there's probably
I
also
think.
going to be a lot fewer galleries after this,
Oh
which really
no.
sucks.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad. Please, people, support arts
Yeah.
communities. What was I gonna say? Oh, because your picture that you sent me of the artist and the designer being fine.
Oh yeah.
That reminded me of I also or generally work at home and am pretty much usually an introvert. Like I don't really talk to people that much, but I have realized that like the very few times that I do go work at coffee shops
It makes
or
a
like
big
it
difference.
makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
This week we've come very close to some just not good mental times, like really
Mhm.
bad. Just I like you don't really value it until you can't have it, but just like check on your introvert friends because they might not be as okay as you think that they are.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and so that was going and getting coffee yesterday. I will probably be going and getting something or going for a walk around the general neighborhood at least once every other day, because like I can I can be in a place where I believe every other person on the planet is dead for like a few days at a time and be very comfortable. But uh, there is an aspect of uh, like I had a short conversation with the guy who works at the coffee shop while I was in there while he was making the coffee, just because it's a coffee shop I worked at another point in, and the it sounds, without a name, it sounds like Starbucks. It's not. I used to work at a coffee like Seattle-based coffee chain that's only Seattle and Tokyo, and they have an owner that is a fucking nut bar. So I just started talking about the owner like, is he still crazy? And like I don't usually do that when I'm places, but I can feel that like slight bit of like I want to talk to a human being that I don't usually talk to, but afterwards totally fine. Like there is that bar you have to build up and you have to get back to it before it degrades back down to zero,
Mhm.
or you start getting like real ass cabin fever.
I went for a run yesterday. That's
That's
like
fucked up.
that's fucked up. It's not good. It's bad. Yeah, my strategy has been just like mass or not mass, but like just responding to people's Instagram stories when they probably are not even asking for me to do that. And I'm just like, please someone interact with this.
That's just what I do anyway. But
Yeah.
you know, uh, I so I found another way to interact with people. Getting back to the topic of me having like some, like I basically have a pretty minute like fun like set of money each paycheck. Well, no, every other paycheck. And this time, since I knew that not only would I be home this week, and I definitely wasn't going to end up just like painting the whole time. Like that's not how I can't not like do something, because my
Yeah.
general days have been like waning in productivity, and that's part of why I really need some time off anyway. But um, I ended up getting that game I talked about the other day, Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, for a refresher, Dreams is a PlayStation 4 game, kind of, that is basically it's the newest game from the people who made Little Big Planet, but it is completely taking away the like side scroller, like here's this little character you make and like you can build this like level, and it has turned it into here is a completely three-dimensional space, and you can use three-dimensional painting, modeling, animating, and music making and all of that to make literally whatever you want. So people make sculptures, and then people make full video games. People make movies. It's basically like a weird, like evolved version of, I guess, in a way, like what Newgrounds was, where people just make whatever. So of course, there's like a whole country of like memes. Like if you want to find Shrek, you will find it, and it will be terrible and sometimes perfect. And it includes meme stuff from the last forever, because it's whatever you can build. But it also means that people are modeling Shrek. Other people are taking that model and animating it in their own stuff, and it's basically the coronavirus of like animating, where because you can just take somebody's stuff, it is almost exactly like retaking that like structure of memes on the internet and putting it onto this game, where like once you build it, as long as you don't try to lock it, like you can lock things you built into your own profile if for some reason you think that's going to like make you money someday or make you famous. There's no monetization on it, so it's not. But um, everybody who looks at your stuff has the ability to then use it in something, whether it's music or sculptures or animations or whatever. So it's this weird self-populating like omni tool of the weirdest shit ever, and I'm very happy about it. I'll send you a very low tech version of what I'm talking about, uh, and see if that kind of gives you an idea of what's going on here.
Okay.
Let's see. There we go. I want you to look real close at this. The character in the back row on the far left, on stage left, not actual left. So our left.
Okay.
Hey, don't worry about it. You'll see it.
Waiting. Okay.
Yeah. It's just got a good sound.
Oh, I don't have the sound up. That's a problem. Wait. The eyes of the Donkey Kong are just like so devoid of it.
Yeah, it's just like somebody put dots on marbles.
Yeah.
It's so it's kind of perfect, because a lot of the audio is basically like you're doing audio there, because you can hook into your controller whatever that has a mic and headphones attached. And then you can record your own audio for stuff. So there are people who have like more of my like mic setup, and there are people who clearly don't, and they are voicing like 15-minute long movies. They are they are singing and like animating it. There's a rough couple of things I found. One of my favorites from last night. I've only had this for like 12 hours, and I've already used it for like 5. um, it wait, 12 hours? Oh shit, yeah, kind of. Wow. Anyway, um, when I was going to bed last night, I was like, let's check out one more project, and I clicked this thing that was like, it was called like Princess Peach Racing or something, and it wasn't. It was a dating game, and it was like, oh. Nice. What? And the model didn't move, but it was like the worst like 13-year-old idea of like sexy lady model. Just really choice stuff. The model didn't move. It was sitting on a log, and then you were like sitting on the log next to it, but it was point of view. And the background moved. So there were like birds flying, but they were like just kind of like twitching in the air and moving in a direction. And then it would ask you questions and give you like plus however many hearts for answering the right way. So it was almost like a Nintendo quiz. It was very weird. But they had that, and they also had a, like right next to it, somebody had made like a 10-minute long like spooky diorama that you didn't control, but it just like walked you through like these environments they'd built and played cool. Like some really like not spooky exactly, but like windy forest noises, and it was kind of like the perfect like before bed thing. What I'll do after our podcast, I will check in the game. It has a thing you can go to, like a website, to watch some of the stuff. I will see if I can send you some of these, because I do think we should talk about some of the art that's getting made and some of the huge quotation marks art that's getting made in the
yeah,
like
I want to see that.
Going through the best of stuff is still good. Like, people made some really like interesting shit. I played a game that was just you're holding a phone in the game, but it's like Surgeon Simulator, where you have to like grab stuff with your other hand, and you have to chop meat and vegetables and make a stir fry, and then you get graded on it at the end. And mine started with throwing the knife away and just slapping everything off of the countertop. It's really fantastic.
I like that a lot.
That feels like interacting with people in a weird way, because it's even more personal shit than you would get actually interacting with people. There was a really good movie that was about like bugs arguing, that was probably like a 14-year-old kid who was like doing an okay job of voice acting, and then his friend who like definitely was not English as their first language, and it was fantastic. All of it, I would suggest. Some of the videos are just dancing robots with music people made. I found some stuff that was just somebody built their own like thing that looked like a piece of metal, and then they made a painting on it of like decorative flowers, and that was the whole project. There was nothing else, and it was kind of awesome. It looked like a design you'd see on like a 70s like sort of kitschy like toaster oven or something.
That sounds nice. I like that.
And it's also cheaper. Full price, it's $40, so it's like not a big video game purchase in terms of like expensive stuff.
Is this on PC or what is it?
So it's supposed to be coming to PC, I think, or at least it has an aspect of it that's on PC, but I'll look into it some more and make sure that you can access that, whatever that is.
It sounds like something I could sink a lot of time into.
It's like when you go to media accounts on Twitter and like look at their stuff, It's like, what if you had that, but it was like even less professional than those tend to be?
I like that.
Mhm. So that's definitely been one of my like, oh right, I do like what humanity does when it's like spending time focusing on creativity and stuff like that, as opposed to getting rich enough to own other people.
And just aimlessly driving cars in places.
Yeah, not my favorite stuff.
I like the videos that are coming up of people stuck inside apartment complexes all doing like synchronized dances with each other.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
That one of like taking a camera and pointing it at different parts of the neighborhood where they had people and they were all doing like the stupid follow dance. Yeah, that shit's great.
I like that
that
a lot.
that is honestly what I like about people is that kind of shit. So it's nice to see it.
I agree.
Got another puff sitting here. I should probably.
I think the last thing that I mentioned in my intro that I haven't talked about yet is desperation induced. How did I say that? Yeah, desperation induced IGTVing.
Yeah. So what kind of rabbit hole are you going down? Because I know that I've definitely watched like hours of the Cho Show via Instagram, like back in the day, but I feel like there's so much trash on there.
Oh, well, there's more now because guess who started IGTV?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I do social media as a job and I fucking hate IGTV. I remember being so mad when they rolled that out. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Just one more like shitty aspect of my job that I have to care about that I hate. Still hate it. It's terrible. I don't like it. But I have some now, so you should go watch one. I did my first one this morning, and it's just like a chill 2 minutes of me doing my makeup. So if you want to see how this came about, and also me make a drink, a coffee. Well, it's not a coffee drink. It's like a coffee substitute that I've been trying because coffee makes me insane. But
what's the substitute? Is it some kind of postum situation?
I don't know what that is. What's postum?
I don't worry about it. We're not in Utah. What are you making it with?
It's it's actually like a powdered drink that I found on Instagram. It's basically just a mixture of like spices and powdered mushrooms and things. I think it's like chai spices, turmeric, some kind of mushroom, cordyceps, cinnamon. There's some other things too, but it's supposed to. It's called mud water or
I've heard of that
mud.
actually.
Yeah,
I've heard mud like used as like the term for fake coffee for stuff.
Yeah. I had never heard of it, but I got an ad for it, and I was like, well, that kind of sounds like it'd be good because I'm very caffeine sensitive, but I do like the routine getting up and making a coffee and stuff. So, I bought some. It's kind of expensive, but I do like it so far.
Yeah, I will go through phases of getting decaf coffee because I also love coffee, but like the easiest way to still enjoy myself is like I even like drinking hot water, like just like boiling water and then like drinking not cold water.
Yeah.
It tends to fulfill that same want in a weird way. But I mean, like the hot mimosa should be proof enough. If I can drink it hot, I'll probably prefer it. I haven't heated up a Red Bull, but sugars are bad for that usually.
Tune in to our new sister podcast, Drink It Hot.
Drink it hot.
Where we where we drink things hot.
Gonna love it. I couldn't help but try to think of what I would do if I were trying to do Instagram TV. Speaking of which, I do want to try and figure out a way to do some live painting on here for like a side thing, kind of like I actually this week has been muy fucko, but our episode today will be going up this evening, but we'll also be putting up our first episode of our story hour business. Since it's going to be up when this is up, I'm just going to announce Natalie's Shady Fiction Warehouse, which very excited to continue. It is one of my favorite types of things that YouTube offers. So having it on there is nice. And whenever we have some audio format version, it'll be great to listen to those.
If you're a fan of the genre of YouTube that's like reading really bad fanfic or animating really bad it's basically that, but it's just our faces, so exponentially better.
Oh yeah. Great framing on that video, just looks great. You know
it's
how
really good.
You know how our videos always look fantastic on here? That one's even better.
It's very good and very sober. Everyone's very sober.
They don't make fun of my drinking proclivities. They love all the stuff I'm bringing to the table. I like that. Everything, it just works. I am really excited about our covers and all of that stuff. So, but in addition to that, I do want to start doing some art-based stuff, especially if we're gonna have uncertain like travelability for a while for everybody. I think it's important that we have more stuff for people who maybe want to see something, even if those people are like our relatives. I would love to have something available for whoever wants it. So, you know, painting is something that I've found really hurts to not be able to go sort of interact with. And even though I really care about my own work, there is an aspect of like taking in ideas from everywhere else and having something to think about that really goes downhill if you can't interact. It's why most artists that are making work that's worth anything are not just artists. They're often, you know, in some point they're in a medical field or they're in a field doing something. That's why people who have two artist parents and they never do anything but art are often terrible. It's just sort of how it happens.
Yeah, that checks out. Yeah. I think it'd be fun to do a live stream, like a live painting stream, and just trying to think of something that I would do, maybe similar to my IGTV debut today. Get ready with me segment of just fucking my shit up for like an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
So
if you ever want to make one of the terrible things that I make, but make it in a way that people appreciate, feel free.
Ooh, you know what would be fun is to do a live stream where I do makeup inspired by what you're painting.
Yeah. Weirdly, that is not the first time that's come up this year with people, but I would totally be into that. And that would be a great utilization for our Twitch. We could always try and set something up with that.
Oh, yeah, we do have that.
Yeah, we technically do.
Very active on all channels.
Oh, yeah. I feel it's important to remind people that we don't edit anything and we don't get paid for anything. And that really sets the bar of quality around here.
Except for this this podcast is sponsored by hot mimosas and kimchi. Like, so we
Yeah.
We do have that market completely cornered.
We have at least 4 sponsors an episode.
At least.
Guaranteed. You've seen it. You've heard it.
Yeah.
Are we in the McClunky zone?
I think so. Do we have anything we need to tell people to do or go to anywhere? I don't think so.
Do in your home and go in your home is mostly our recommendations. Check out Dreams, though, if you own a PlayStation.
And be gone, thought.
Yeah.